Now you gotta let that out, man. So Lance, man, let's hey, before we get started, so kind of tell us how you got into coaching,
Positions you coach,
and what you do for that
role on staff.
Yeah. Oh man, so I was going to college. I didn't want to be a coach, and then believe it or not, I was pre-med. I went to go be a doctor. I want to be an anesthesiologist. Well, I got 2 years into that, and I realized I didn't want to go 6 more. So, and I missed football. I missed the aspect. I missed my coaches. I missed everything about it. So I called my offensive coordinator, my O-line coach, because I was a tight end. I said, "Do you think I could be a coach?" He said, "I think you'd be the best coach I've ever come out of Rush." I said, "Okay, cool." I don't agree with that because we've had some good coaches in Rush, and so I talked to them, and they called Rafe Watkins at Guthrie High School to say if I could volunteer coach. And so I'm living in Stillwater, going to school. And I'm, a junior, going to my junior year, so I go meet them. They let me come help out there 2 years. I learned a lot of football from Rafe Watkins and Kelly Beebe and all those guys on staff. Learned a lot of football because that's a top program in 5A, one of the top programs, and they're still the same program as when I was there. And so real close to that staff, and I came to graduate, and I needed a job, and B's like, "Well, we don't got no jobs here, boss." And I said, "All right." So I walked into Rafe's office, and I said, "Hey, I need a job somewhere." He goes, "Well, wherever you want to be, I'll help you get." And I looked on the job board, and Kingfisher came open, and went to Kingfisher. I was like, "Hey, I need help getting a job at Kingfisher." "That's fine." He was my college roommate.
Smart work.
Perfect. So, Rafe Watkins and Jeff Myers were, the Mike and Will linebacker at Northwestern together. So they're real close. He got me the job there. I spent 3 great years there. Went to Rush Springs for 2 to coach my little brothers, and then went to Texas to a little town called Lavon. It's a 4A school down there, so it's about the same size as Elgin actually, but it's just 4 small towns together. I was coached there for 3 years. Had to move my kids back close to grandparents, moved back to Rush, was trying to find a job, and luckily ended up at Elgin. Called one day, just on the board. It was July when I found this posting.
Wow.
Yeah. I called. I just picked up the phone because I was just working for a buddy. I wasn't even in education. I was getting out. And looked on there, and I called, had a phone number for Chalmer, and I called him, and he thought probably I was the biggest slap in the world because it was like 9 o'clock on a Saturday. And he told me, he goes, "Yeah, you can send your stuff, but I'm pretty sure I already got the job filled because, no one calls at 9 o'clock on a Saturday for a job." And I sent him my stuff, and he emailed me Sunday morning, like, "Hey, can you come in for an interview on Monday?" Came in Monday at 8 a.m. and took the job here. But as far as positions I've coached, the only thing I think I haven't coached over my 14 years of doing this is secondary.
What are you doing now for the Owls?
I'm the inside linebackers coach and running backs coach. I'm kind of a dual person. I'm mainly on the defensive side, but when I first came here, they had an offensive job, so I started with B-backs, and then it's kind of slowly pushed me into the defensive side where I'm more comfortable. That's where I like to be, is defense.
And then we'll talk a little bit throughout the night kind of on some of the things, but you're also the strength guy, right?
Yes.
Conditioning guy as well.
I am, I really enjoy the strength and conditioning. I'm a football coach that loves strength and conditioning, not a strength and conditioning coach that loves football.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. There's a big difference. So I'm not going to say I'm the street guy, but I love strength and conditioning. It's one of my passions, but it isn't my main passion.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, because like you said, there's strength guys out there that dabble in football, and then there's football guys that dabble in strength. So
yes.
I'm glad to clarify that.
Yeah.
What's one of the biggest functions when it comes to strength and conditioning that you see that relates to football?
Man, you got to be strong. You have to be strong. If you're not strong, you don't have a base strength. You won't be able to run fast. Like you can't be a skinny kid that's fast. That just doesn't work out in football.
No.
And you won't have the hamstring strength. You won't have the quad strength or the core strength to run if you don't have a little bit of strength with you. You want to be fast, you have to be strong, and you have to have a base strength. And that's one of the things you see nowadays. A lot of people don't have a base strength. You can see high school kids that can't do push-ups, can't pump out 10 push-ups or do 4 pull-ups. And I'm not talking about kipping and kicking your thing. They just don't have a base strength about their body.
Right.
And so you have to have that to be able to function, to get off the toilet in the mornings. You have to be able to have some type of base strength.
Well, a lot of people don't understand. And it's not so much on the high school level, especially at a program like ours. But a lot of people don't understand how much more time kids spend with strength and conditioning coaches than they do with actual football coaches.
Yeah.
I mean, at the college level, that they spend 10 months out of the year, 9 months out of the year with the strength and conditioning coordinator, because there's rules on how much coaches can have access to kids and this, that, and the other, and how much football work can be done. But as long as it falls on the strength and conditioning part of it. So, that's why, a guy like Scott Cochran that was at Alabama, now's at Georgia. He runs those programs more than Nick Saban and Kirby Smart does, because he's the guy. Obviously, he's getting his instructions from Kirby and Nick and things like that. But, those guys spend more time with you guys, the strength guys, than they do with their position coaches and their head coaches and things like that. But this year's strength, talking about kind of the off season, I know we're 4 weeks into the season, but kind of going back to the off season and things like that. This year it seems like there was much more of a concerted effort for not only the coaches, but for the kids to make sure that they were there. And that has translated onto the field. Shea Spencer looks like a completely different kid. Colin Donnelly looks like he's way faster. Andre Crabtree looks a lot different. So does Trey Crabtree. And that's just some kids off the top of my head. I know a lot of the kids did great things during the offseason. Trace Lohr is another one to think of. But talk about kind of that emphasis this summer and how hungry they were going into this summer for this season.
I don't know if it's just this summer, but it's been a 4 to 5 year journey with those seniors. I have to give all the credit to Bo Bethard. I know Cody mentioned him last week, but Bo Bethard's the reason we're like where we are right now, and I'm 100% behind that. That's the guy that was before me, the strength guy. He worked the ground before I even got here. He taught these kids the correct way to lift. He taught the kids the passion for the weight room. He taught everything about it. He worked the ground. He planted the seed. He made those kids excited about the weight room. And all I had to do was come water the seed, and then I'm getting to, reap the harvest, basically. Okay. So he instilled that in there, and, we're not completely different, but he was a strength guy that loved football.
Okay. Yeah.
And so he is by far he is a way better strength coach than I will ever be. I can promise you that. And I still call him when I have questions about things or I don't understand things, because he's smarter than me in that situation. Right. But he planted that seed, and all I got to do was turn up the volume. You know what I'm saying? Right. And it's just a natural progression of where it started with him. So he did the things before I did, and all I did was got to continue his process. He had it in the ground ready to roll, and I just kind of turned up the volume, put a little bit of weight on it, and we're reaping what he did at the beginning. And when that happens, when someone comes in and does all that, it's easier for people like me to go ahead and start the young guys. So I'm doing the same stuff he did with the ninth graders, but it's easier because they can look up and go, well, Matt Lund's doing this. Yeah. Keith Ferguson's doing this. He got them excited. And now they're all, it's routine. It's part of the tradition. It's part of the culture because of what he did. And all I got to do was just turn up the volume.
And it's not all weight room work.
No.
People think of it and think, it's all about doing the lifting and doing some of that type of stuff. But at the end of the day, a lot of it also comes on the track and on the field with plyometrics and calisthenics and all that kind of stuff. And we
lift 4 days a week year round. Yeah. Okay. And one day is what I call mobilities. And so that's what you're talking about on the track and doing different things like that. And there's a different, some days we'll do more, do less, but they have a weight class. What's great about where we're at right now, they have a weight class.
Okay.
So during the day, first hour, second hour, third hour, or fifth hour, all these athletes are coming down and lifting. So in the off season, seventh hour, I don't have to worry about lifting because they've already lifted. Okay. Now during the off season, we get to spend some time working different strength parts, working a core strength or working their hamstrings or working, some plyometrics like you're talking about.
Quick twitch type stuff and all that.
Also, what's great about that, it's not just me doing that. Our track coach sold out to it. He, Feed the Cat was what he called it. He got a program, and me and him worked really well together. All the offseason started in January. We usually don't send our kids to track until like February or into March. Right. But Coach Hughes and me and talked during November, December, let's start this in January. Let's start it earlier. So I did that kind of weight room and the sleds and the band type work, pulling bands, pulling sleds. And then he started teaching them how the A-series stuff, how to fire him, and the proper way to run.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
that's one of the biggest things out there. People don't know how to run.
Yeah.
And you can knock off 0.2, give or take, of a 40 time with just learning to run.
Yeah.
Because, not many people understand the concept. It's swaying and whatever else. But
Can I go into depth a little bit about that?
you want me to?
Yeah, I mean, you have to have the right technique, and it's not just like people hear, ear to hip with your hands. It's that, but it's also learning how to drive your hip flexor up and then coming back and striking with the right part of your toe and right part of your foot. And there's drills to break that down. And that's what they call an A series. And we did it every day this summer.
A jumps, A skips, A things, all that kind of stuff. So when I was in high school, it was kind of in the beginning of it to a certain degree. In New Orleans, there was a guy named Tom Shaw, who was the strength. He was the track coach. He was part of the track coaching team at Florida State, and now he works out a ton of he's based out of Orlando now. He was in New Orleans at the time, but he's the one that kind of got me involved in it and got me to understand it and things like that. Coach Prime's all in the news, stuff like that. He was on Florida State staff when Prime was there, and so during the off season he would work out Prime and things like that. It's all about learning, reteaching yourself how to run, just like you would teach yourself how to block, how to take the proper steps. Running is it's a technique. Everybody thinks, everybody can run. You just get out there and you just start doing it. But to run properly, it is a full-blown technique that, starts with your hands and starts with your eyes, and then it goes all the way down to your toes and your feet. And when you learn it makes you think differently of running, and it makes you think different of like those track stars and some of that type of stuff.
Yeah, and Coach Hughes, me and him talked about it, and I can teach it. But Coach Hughes can teach it better. So why not have Coach Hughes teach it? And this summer we had him come out one day a week, and he taught it. He taught it to our entire staff and our entire football team, and we did it once a week.
Lean's a big thing. A lot of people, staying straight up. This, that, and the other.
And that's just a compliment of our staff.
Yeah.
Not just the football staff, but our whole staff as the coaches at Elgin. Like, that's a track coach that has nothing to do with football. And he's coming out during the summer on his summer break to teach us at 10 o'clock. And he did it with her, and we started doing it with their junior high and everything. So
that's awesome.
It's just a big thing like that. And, we kind of sold out to being great, and, the enemy of greatness is good. And so we're tired of being good enough, and we sold out to be great as a staff, And Coach Hughes, he's a great human, and I'm just really happy that he's part of our staff, and he's in the office all day, and he cares about football. He traveled to Reno, to look at it. So it's just one of those things, like, you had to use our resources around us, and he's a great resource that we use for speed, and he's all about us being faster. Of course, when the football team's fast, means the track. Right. He's kind of helping himself, but, we're all in this together at Elgin. That's what's great.
But when you look at our games, that's one thing that people from the outside talk about is our team speed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing that obviously has translated, and like I said, looking at game tape and looking at live, being there live in the stadium, things like that, you can tell certain kids are faster this year.
Yes.
Matt Lunn's always been fast, but this year he has a different gear.
Yes.
Colin Donnelly has a way different gear this year. Keith Ferguson and Jace even have a different gear. On Matt's second quarter touchdown run,
the counter,
Jace is 10 yards in front of him, pushing down the DB.
Yeah.
He's out there running with Jace. So that's a cool thing to see. And I guess as a strength guy, that's a cool thing to see. Like, hey, I wasn't just going through the motions this summer.
And Keith, from January, he didn't play baseball this year, and neither did Jace, because Jace had an injury. Right. So they came to track, and Jace and them didn't really do track, but they learned how to run.
Right.
And so you can see them out there doing those A series. Now, listen, the first couple times they did that A series, learned how to run, it was comical, but they tried, and they got better, and they got faster. Same thing with Shea Spencer. He was out there doing the same stuff. And Shea Spencer can run for a big...
Yes, he can.
And so Colin was out there doing the same stuff, and Colin put took so much time off his 40. You won't even believe me if I told you what he started at to what he finished. You'd call me I was crazy and that the lasers were wrong, but it's ridiculous. And you can see it on game film.
No, you definitely can. I mean, he's 2 or 3 steps faster than he was last year. So there's not as much arm tackling. And I mean, that people don't understand that when you think about speed, I mean, you think about straightaway speed and things like that, but side-to-side speed for linebackers is so important because if you're a tenth of a second faster than the 40, a 2/10 of a second faster than 40, that now puts you head up in that hole to that person rather than reaching out with your arm.
Yeah,
and that goes a long way. I mean, you reach out with your arm so often, that arm's going to start having some issues and things like that.
And you talk about how fast Matt Lund is, but he's not even the fastest person on our team.
Who would that be? Is it? It's one of the Treys, I would assume.
It is.
It Harris?
Trey Harris.
Okay. Is it
Trey Harris has our fastest 40 time.
Okay.
But Matt Lund has our fastest flying 10 time. So it's a whole different thing. In the flying 10, 40s are cool, and that's what everybody wants to talk about. And that's what.
But at the end of the day, how often do you run a 40 in a football game?
No. that old rod from a long time ago, they wanted to see how fast you could cover a punt.
Right.
So that's where the 40-yard dash came from.
Right.
How fast can you cover a punt? But nowadays, everything's kind of my personal opinion is going towards the flying 10, and that's more game speed. I mean, when you look at running backs, they're 7 yards from the ball. They're building up.
Yeah.
How are they at full speed with line of scrimmage? Backers are 5. People running routes at 10. And
one of my favorite is the 5-10-5 shuttle.
Yeah.
Because that's changing directions. That's kind of everything involved there. That's you got some time where you can actually build up some speed, but you're also changing directions and things like that. I mean, that's the biggest part because there's kids that are straightaway fast that can't go side to side.
Yeah.
Most track kids are straight, and they can't move side to side. So that's why all of a sudden you're like, oh, Usain Bolt would be great in football. No, I don't know how much he can move side to side. Right. Some of those things.
Yeah.
Can you explain the flying 10 real quick?
So flying 10 is you get you can choose your build-up speed, your build-up yardage. We do 10 yards. So you get a build-up speed for 10 yards, and we measure with our lasers because we have lasers that can time it. When we talk about 40 times, a lot of people talk about hand times and stuff like that. We're lucky enough to have the ability to have lasers. And that's something else John Hughes did for us. He bought lasers with the track money. He lets football use them because, I'm in there every day using them. And so for 10, we measure how fast you can get that next 10 yards. So you build up for 10, and then you sprint as hard as you can for 10. And so, that's at the top of a route, or that's coming downhill with the tackle, or that's, getting the ball and hitting the line of scrimmage. You get that build up, and then you're gone.
I'm looking forward to, so we got a new deal with OSN where we can measure the speed of kids. I don't know if you've seen it. So we can measure the speed of kids, and Matt on the 99 one got to 19.9. Didn't top 20.
He would have switched arms.
Yeah, he was so close to top 20, and it was awesome to watch, to see just how like the change in it throughout the run and things like that. So that's a pretty cool deal. That we won't have it in the live section of the game, but we will have it as once the highlights come in and things like that.
And that's what's cool about our timing system and our lasers is that it coordinates that speed for us, how fast we go. And Matt's broke 20 multiple times.
Okay, so that's awesome.
I think he's got up to 21 and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, and Trey Harris is right there. Trey Crabtree, boy, he can move.
Okay. Because,
move.
And they do it in the NFL. I mean, I think the top one right now in the NFL is somewhere 22.5. I don't know if anybody's reached 23 yet.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, but it's like 22.5, 22.7, somewhere in there. Yeah. Tyreek Hill's got like 3 or 4 of the fastest times in that thing. But, I mean, when you start thinking about it, I mean, if Matt's in those 20s, I mean, he's not that far off. Now, that's a big difference.
From 20 to 21 is a big difference.
Is a big difference. It's a mile an hour. But, I mean, that's cool to see an 18-year-old kid to a 30-something-year-old grown man.
And they're not weak either. They're not just fast kids. Like Trey Crabtree, we're talking about one of the fastest kids on our team, but he's a 295-pound bencher at 160 pounds. Like, that's some weight moving. And we have multiple kids that can do that.
Well, and you see a lot of, like I said, and we've talked about this throughout we talked about it a ton during kind of the preseason. They're still young. And so some of like the Trey Flores and Shea Spencer, and they finally kind of, a lot of it has to do with the lifting now. But like I said, I didn't know a way to put it in the first part of the season, so I was like, they kind of gotten rid of some of that baby fat, and I mean now they're growing into their bodies because they're obviously maturing, but also the weightlifting and all that's kind of coming into play. So I mean they're now, last year some of them looked, like I said, some of that baby fat, not necessarily chubby or anything along those lines, but just not developed but now you look at us and you go, oh, wow, okay. Yeah. You look at the offensive line as a whole and you're like, okay, that's a pretty good looking bunch there. Yes, Shea only weighed 230, but his 230 looks pretty.
I wish he weighed 230.
But the way he looks, I mean, it's a pretty weight, even though he's not, 300 pounds like you want an offensive lineman to be. But then we also talked about this. I mean, you also have other coaches saying your left side is so big and so dominant, but your right side is so dang athletic that it's a crazy mix, and obviously it works well for us.
Yeah, I mean, I calculated the other day just because I was bored. When we have Colin in at tight end, okay, when Colin is on the left side, that left side from guard to tight end weighs 801 pounds. And when he's on the right side, it's 635. So there's a big difference.
That's a big difference, right? But you don't, when you see that, sometimes you think, oh my God, we got to protect the right side. Pressure's going to be coming from there, and this, that, and the other. And in games, we haven't seen, in real life games, we haven't seen that. No. Shea's done a great job. I think one of the best things was moving Shea out to that tackle and allowing him to you can use your athletic ability at center, don't get me wrong, by any stretch of the imagination, but Carson's done a great job there at center, and allowing Shea to play right tackle has made us a much scarier, better offense, in my opinion.
Yes, Shea's an athlete.
Yeah.
He's 220 pounds, 225 on a good day, and he is an athlete. He's probably one of the most explosive athletes we have on the offensive line. Like, you talk about someone that can end up being a freakish athlete, it's Shea Spencer. Like, he is freakish. Like, the things he can do in the weight room and things, you're like, man, you're only 220 and you're exploding like that. It's awesome.
Well, and you see it more on the defensive side of the ball, because defense is, as an offensive lineman, I mean, you're kind of involved in the scrum and whatnot, but on the defensive side of the ball, you really see him popping on the film and popping in the real games, and using, like you said, that explosiveness and some of that type of stuff. I mean, on Colin's interception, I mean, that was a super athletic play. People don't understand how athletic that was for him to rush, realize he was about to throw it, stop, jump, tip the ball, and then allow Colin to come underneath it and get the interception.
Since we're talking about Colin and Shea right there, let's go ahead and jump into that. Like, one of the things, the players of the week, Shea, he's a Rough Rider of the week, right?
He is.
So, how did that come into play? Other than, like, I believe it was when Richardson was running the ball back off the interception. It looked like Shea was hanging with him a little bit.
Yeah,
down
Shea. So Moody thinks that Ritson's out of shape.
Yes and no. He ain't. That just comes back.
Nobody's ever expected to run 100 yards on a football field.
No.
But
that just goes back to a little bit of drill work. Not gonna lie to you, we do pursuit every day. We have a rabbit that runs to the side with the tag off the hip, tag off, and then we do an interception, and everybody has to get outside the numbers to take off running. And that's just, muscle memory for Shea and all those guys. Oski, time to roll. Let's roll out and get in front of it.
It was awesome.
It was awesome to see.
Yeah, that play was awesome to see in person. And you look up and there's 6 people in front of him. And you're going, oh, there's no way he's going to get tackled now unless he just... No, Ritson, he could have ran out of bounds at like the 20 because he was tired or whatever. But
boy, he better not.
He decided to take it all the way. But just talk about Shea, going back to kind of what Derek was talking about. Talk about Shea being the Rough Rider of the week.
Man, he's a kid that is, enjoyable to be around. He came out and he graded well. He played really well. He played physical, and he played both sides of the ball. He played 4 quarters on both sides of the ball.
Right.
Still great. I don't know what his grade was. It was, in the 90s. You had Coach Castro on here, and he was talking about the grading system. I think he graded in the 90s and playing both ways. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
And so he just came out and he played his tail off. And, he's he's fun to be around. He likes to goof. He's kind of a goofy kid, and he's fun, you know. And like I say, I get a different relationship than Coach Castro does with him because I'm the strength guy. So I'm, you called it the bully one time on the show, and I listened. No, I'm just kidding. But
hey.
We'll talk about his vertical later.
He's a great kid. So I have a different relationship. So I get a joke and kind of razz a little bit with him more than Coach Castro does. And he's just kind of goofy sometimes. He calls me little guy every time he sees me. I'm not that little compared to him.
As far as what about the special teams player of the week, Dylan Brown?
Dylan Brown's a senior for us. He has no regard for his body. So he goes and he throws it around anywhere he can, and he is going to be a car crash. We have a couple on the team that way, but he is doing whatever it takes to win. And he ran down and made some good tackles on kickoff and does things right there every day. You don't have to worry about Dylan Brown being there. And Dylan Brown is one of those seniors that's, he doesn't get a start on offense or defense, but he's there, and he's the next guy up, and he's okay. He wants to play. So he goes out there on special teams, on all of our special teams, and just throws his body around and deserves.
Well, that's awesome for a kid like him. Like you said, doesn't get to play much on offense and defense, but doesn't put his head down and say, A, I'm going to quit, or B, I'm not running down on special teams. I'm a senior, and some of that type of stuff. But for him to, hey, I need to find a way to contribute, and this is my best way to do it. And then not only do it, but excel at it and get named special teams player of the week. That's the type of kids that will win you playoff games, will win you close games and things like that, because you can't always rely on Matt and Trace and those guys. Sometimes there's going to be an unsung hero, and that's an awesome deal for him to win that award. But it also shows his character and his upbringing to be willing to do that position and do that type of stuff.
DB, we call him DB, and because Dylan Brown, he loves to just go hit. Like, he's a running back too. People don't know that. He goes to running back individual, and he always looks up and goes, "Am I going to play running back?" I'm like, "Man, do you want to play running back?" He goes, "Coach, I'd rather play defense." I'm like, "Boss, I'd rather coach defense too right now. Let's go." But no, I'm just kidding. I love my running backs. I love coaching them. I have the easiest job in the world, right?
You got two pretty good ones right now. Well, you got probably 5 pretty good ones when you look at Bryce Martin and Tanner Antuna and those guys. You've got a ton of them right now.
And so it's easy for me to coach. I just show up and we go through some drills, and that's, I'd critique here and there. And what's awesome right now about the B-back room is, some of those young guys get in it and they start running and they do different things. And I'll look at Matt Lunn, and Matt Lunn's coaching them. And that's a good thing about
that's important.
And I look at it.
Because Matt did, and then here's the thing, nothing against the players and things like that, but when Matt was a freshman, Matt didn't have that.
No, he didn't. He didn't.
And like I said, nothing. I don't know who was in the room at that time or whatever, but Matt was the guy since he's been a freshman. Mm-hmm. So Matt didn't have that. So it's awesome that he has taken that role and ran with it.
And what's funny is, Trey Crabtree was a running back as a freshman, right? Sophomore. We didn't move him out to receiver till last year, I think. And so he sees him running too, and he's looking at me. And one of them fumbled one day in the mesh part, and I can't handle fumbles, and I don't respond properly to him. You would say all the kids start looking at me when the B-backs fumble, and I can't remember which one it was. It was a couple weeks back, and they said he didn't get it to me, hit my hip. And Trey Crabtree is, "It's always the running back's fault. Just ask coach." So it's always it's always your fault, and that's what I tell them. They don't pass the blame. The ball's on the ground, and it can't happen. So, but I like my running backs. It's fun. It's easy to coach them right now, and it's enjoyable. So that's good.
Competition breeds success.
We've talked about it with Trace over the years and things like that. Trace is now, like I said, got a little bit of competition there, and it's more from the coaching, because TJ has gave him kind of a new set of standards and a new set of no F-it balls, none of that type of stuff. Yeah. Where he's learning and growing from it too.
I give TJ a hard time, but he is a good addition to our staff.
Yeah, absolutely.
he's a young coach.
Very young. Yeah.
But he is knowledgeable and he does well in that quarterback room.
Well, and not only in the quarterback room though, too. I mean, the other kids realize. Yeah. I mean, they adapt well to him because I mean he's young. Can't sugarcoat that he's not young.
No.
But like I said, I mean, he has the respect of the entire locker room because I think the locker room also likes that he's pushing Trace.
I agree with that.
You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, sometimes, as an ex-quarterback, sometimes you're the leader, but sometimes the team looks at you a little bit differently because you're handled a little bit differently. It's just the way it is. I mean, you've been in enough locker rooms and things like that. I mean, yeah, sometimes it's what does the baby want? So that the whole team's things like that. Yeah. But TJ holds them to a different standard,
right?
And I think that has also made Trace a better teammate and a better quarterback at the end of the day.
Yeah, when you look at it in practice and the entire quarterback room is doing push-ups for interceptions during practice, that's a different, mindset.
Right.
And it might have not been Trace that throwing it, but he's doing push-ups because
somebody else, right? Somebody else did.
It's accountability with one another, and it's good. It's good,
No, he's good with the younger kids too. He holds them to a different standard, even if they ain't quarterbacks. I know he talks to Dax a lot about handling business and being honest with him, and I love that shit. Yeah. Sometimes I just gotta walk away. So I'm like,
yeah.
But so we did Rough Rider. We did special teams. Sharpen your axe. Who's that one?
Ritson Meyer.
Ritson.
He had one interception for 97 yards. And he had plus 2 rushing touchdowns this week.
Yeah, and then, I don't know how many rushing yards, but
I don't either. They always ask me the stats, and I'll have to look them up. I don't have them memorized. Same thing with tackles. He's a kid, that is always going to have a chance to be one of the players of the game.
Yeah.
And he's fun to watch. He's fun to do things. We gave him sharpen the axe because he did it on both sides of the ball. He had a defense and offensive touchdown. He had tackles. He had big play moments, and he's a kid that he could have taken one side of the ball off. He only got 4 carries on offense. But it was, that's just because of the play, not to say play calling, but just because of the situations when he was in there. And he had to play a lot on defense, so he didn't get as many offensive reps. It's kind of hard to send you out there to run the ball when your tongue's hanging out because you had to stop at 12.
Yeah, the defense was on the field a ton. In the first half, we had 39. We had 11 offensive plays, and they had 39.
Yeah.
I mean, so the defense is on the field a ton. So, I mean, like you said, that's hard. That's hard to put him at the running back spot. I mean, Matt pretty much is solitary on offense.
And then he comes off, so get a drink, we'll go back in there. Then Matt goes 99 on one play. It's kind of hard to make a run after that. So,
right.
Matt's he's a threat anytime he touches the ball. So it's kind of hard sometimes. Like Matt, he'll look at me like, man, you're going in next play, but Matt just broke one off for 85. Right. So you don't get to go in next play. Sorry.
Talk about coaching Ritson though. I mean, you said he's a sophomore. Mm-hmm. And I mean, just you get him on both sides of the ball.
I do.
So you're a better man than me because he's one of the most fun kids to be around. But at times, I'm sure he's also a little bit of a headache to a certain degree, just because you've got to challenge him in different ways than some kids. I would say.
Yeah, I mean, Ritson's a good kid.
Yeah,
like Ritson's a good kid. All of our kids are good. And Ritson has a personality about it. That's nothing, it comes with being as good as he is and the natural ability he has.
Yeah.
But, at the end of the day, he's not that much you just have to listen to him for a little bit. He's got to get his talking out. And you're like, hey, man, we're probably not going to do that. And they're like, oh, okay, whatever, And that rubs some people wrong sometimes, but he's a great kid and a great athlete, and he will do most things you ask him to do. He just has to talk about them first. And that's not necessarily a bad thing because he's trying to figure it out. He's been so good sometimes at things he's never had to learn the ins and outs of games. So like when he's asking about things, it's not him questioning your coaching. It's like, why we do it? I don't understand.
I was able to do it, not doing it that way. Yeah. Like talk a little bit about that, coaching a kid, like you said, that has athletic ability, that questions things. And like you said, not because he's not questioning it because, he's questioning authority. He's questioning because I understand you're telling me to do it that way, but I did it this way and it worked before. It's kind of one of those weird.
He's a
deals.
sophomore.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
He hasn't played as much football games as even a Colin, who's just a year above him, or Matt. Matt can tell you different things about running the ball and telling him things because he's done it for 4 years.
Right.
Where Ritson, we just moved him to running back his freshman year. So he's only been a running back for 2 years. And so there's just some games he missed doing that, and especially being a freshman, not getting the JV games that he needed and the freshman games he needed. Now he's spelled straight into varsity because of his ability. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not knocking it at all. He doesn't know.
But talk about his growth from last year to this year.
Man, that's just maturity.
He seems like he's much more. Last year he was a chicken with his head cut off to a certain degree, but in a good way, because he was so athletic. Now he is getting the concepts.
Yeah, it's just another year in the program.
Right. So it's fun to watch because now he's doing fundamental things last year that, I'm not saying that he wasn't doing fundamental things last year, but last year he was 100% on his athletic ability and not reading certain, things like that.
Yeah, I don't know, dog, man. He was a state championship wrestler last year, man. Yeah. So,
no, that's what I'm saying. But I'm talking about the football.
I think he's just matured a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to keep going with
it's just another year of playing and doing those things. He understood what to do. He just did freshman mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's, you're not used to seeing that in 5A out there and on a good football team.
Yeah.
And this year, you don't see, the old adjective is for every freshman you start, you're going to lose a game.
Right.
And he just did those things. And it's just, he's going to be a great player.
Yeah.
You're all looking at, Keith Ferguson and Matt Lund and those people that have been around for him. You got to remember, he's young. And
it gets lost a lot of times, I think, how young, him only being a sophomore.
Yes.
In the deal.
So, it's not that he was making mistakes. He was just playing football with the best he was doing it. He was doing a great job.
Wow.
He was doing a great job. And it's not necessarily like, he's a dumb football. He's a smart football player.
Smart kid, yeah.
He's a smart football player. He just hasn't had the reps.
Yeah.
And now that he's had some reps under his belt and he's won a state championship and he's had that success, he's like, man, I like this. And he wants to know more, like, hey, why are we doing this? And it's not, why are we doing this? It's, hey, can you explain to me like the ins and outs of this? He wants to know.
So now he's starting to figure out and getting hungry about the concepts and knowledge. And I mean that could be scary for opponents in a couple of years coming up.
And Colin's been doing that since 8th grade.
Right.
Colin's a very smart player, and that's why he can call our defense and do things, because he was that hungry as an 8th grader. He wanted to know he could be a coach on the field as an 8th grader. He understood our offensive defense inside out, and he does that all the time. Where Ritson's seeing that, like, man, that was cool. I did that. How did I do that? Oh, I did it because of this. And now he's wanting to know more. Like, so what?
So if I do this, okay.
Or if they come out here and I see this, I'm like, yes, bub, that's what we do.
Then roll, okay.
And so it's not that he's wanting to know more about the game.
That's awesome.
And he's becoming a student of the game. And that's what's really, really good about it.
Yeah, because if you can make a kid that has that much athletic ability to become a student of the game, then it's scary.
And people sometimes take the questioning because of body language, them questioning us, but you have to get him through it. And they're like, no, you're asking this. I get it. Because he's still trying to figure out how to ask the question because he is a sophomore.
Right.
I mean, think about when you were a kid, you didn't know how to talk to your coach.
We've talked about this. We've talked about this.
I didn't know how to talk to my dad until like last year. And I'm 34 years old.
So. No. And, I was always like,
pretty stout.
Freshman and sophomore. Yeah, freshman and sophomore year, I thought all my coaches were idiots. I was like, oh, this is easy. All of this is easy. And then, like I said, as I've gotten older, I'm like, I guess I was a pretty good athlete, but I'm like, I should have listened way more, and I would have been a way better athlete. I would have been a way better player. Probably wouldn't have changed my athletic ability, but I would have been a way better player because I was, I think I was combative. It's the lawyer in me to kind of.
No, it's a pleasure to coach Ritson. Is it frustrating? Coaching anybody's frustrating. Coaching any 14, 15, 16-year-old kid is frustrating, and he's no different than coaching anybody else. He's a great kid. He wants to learn. He wants to play. He's fun to coach. They're all fun to coach. I love it. I love coaching. It's my passion. I love it.
That's awesome.
And when they're good, just like you were talking earlier about my 23-inch vertical, I get excited.
Well, that was a play. That was a play too. Would you say he didn't do the right thing?
Yeah,
but he saw something and capitalized on it. Like, would you tell me what you said?
If you're gonna do something wrong, make a play. That's the rule. Yeah, if you're gonna do something wrong, make a play. And it not necessarily he did something wrong. He just got the wrong play call in. He didn't hear the cut part of it, and he saw the opening, hit it because he thought he was supposed to go, and he went as hard as he could and made a play. I was excited for him making the play, and I get excited.
Yeah, you got excited.
I get excited. It's it's part of that coaching life, and you hear all the time, Coach Castro up in the box, celebrate that, because he's not down there with it.
No, he's not.
But he is celebrating that, and I promise you, he is celebrating in the box.
Oh no, he is. So this week we were in the box with him. So he and I had a lot of fun this week in the box together. And Saturday morning, he was like, "Do you guys have that much fun in the box every week doing the game?" I was like, "Yeah, we do. Yeah. At least I do. I mean, just because football is a crazy and exciting game, and I mean, when good things happen,
celebrate them.
Celebrate them. Us old men go back to the 16-year-old kids that we were when we were on the field, and think we can,
And I was celebrating the situation, but I was also celebrating, Ritson's success.
Yeah.
I was happy for him and the success, and I did the same thing with Matt Scores. I celebrate with all those kids when they do something big. Sometimes Matt's like, "I'm tired. I just ran 99. Let's not celebrate. Let's just hug here." So it's fine. I get it.
We'll do whatever you want to get.
Yeah.
So he had 185 yards. Hey, shout out to David
Dillingham
for giving me the stats, but he had 185 yards
rushing.
Rushing. He had 611 on the season. Mm-hmm. He had 4 touchdowns, 2 rushing, 3 passing.
Yeah, I think he had 85 yards receiving.
84, yeah.
So he's 4.
I don't want to talk about it but it's like 4 something to break.
460.
Yeah, something like that.
Somewhere in that. So it's
if you know Pizza Corral, it's up there. It's on the billboard.
Yeah. It's less than 5, but I think it's 460 something. And I mean, he's close.
Right.
He's close. But the awesome thing about it this year too is the 85 yards receiving.
Yes.
I mean, in the years that I've been around and the years watching Matt, I mean, been involved in y'all's district since he was a freshman. I mean, throwing the ball to him was never really an option. Not because it wasn't in the gameplay. Not saying that it was anything to do with him.
His first high school touchdown was on a pass. People don't realize that. We came out empty one time. We were in smash concept, and we had him out in the empty spot. And we were in a B-go. He went down the middle of it and caught it again. That's his first touchdown. But no, we don't really throw it to him out of the box much. We throw the brown wheel, we wheel him out of it off of the boot concept, and that's the main pass he's caught over his career. Now we're throwing the swings. Now we got the B screen. We changed our B screen a little bit this year, and that's more XO stuff, but we throw it a little bit to him on the edge a little bit, and things that we haven't done in the past just because we can.
Well, in the swing, I mean, the swing is so awesome with him. Because it gets him
in space. Dangerous. He is dangerous in space.
He is incredible between the tackles in space. But now, if you can just swing it out there, it adds a whole new dimension. Mm-hmm. Like on the screen. I mean, it was nowhere designed to go cut all the way back across field.
Yeah.
But I mean, his vision has gotten way better. Mm-hmm. If you ask me. And now he also, he can go 99 yards. But some of his most impressive runs this year have been 7 and 8 yards because sophomore, junior Matt would have gotten a yard.
Yeah.
And tell me if I'm wrong on that. I mean, you coach him every day. I
agree with that. His vision's better. But, I always tell him, don't look for the cut, go find it. And I mean, what I mean by that is you better hit the hole hard and run. And anytime you're looking for a cut and looking for anything, your feet are even. And as a running back, if your feet are even, you're done. Mouth.
Yeah, you're done.
And so I always tell them, run. Trust your speed and go find the cut because it'll come to you naturally. And if it doesn't, it's BYOB, be your own blocker, lower the head and always finish forward.
So that's an incredible. Okay, I've never heard anybody explain it that way, and that's an incredible way because, like you said, if you're looking for it, then you're square with the linebacker, and you're shoulder blades or shoulder blade to shoulder blade, and you're ready to go, and you're getting form tackled at that point.
Yeah.
That's an incredible way to explain that. I've never heard that before, and that's an awesome job of coaching.
Did you get that from coaching linebackers and running backs?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm a decent running back coach because I know how to coach linebackers.
Right.
And I know what we're looking at as a linebacker and where it's coming from.
And it's always from the running back.
Yes.
Yeah.
If his shoulders are square, I love it because I'm fitting up on you hard. If your shoulders aren't square and you're at the line, I'm still having the flow, and then my hips get out of alignment, and then that's not good always.
Well, we just talked about that with Colin. I mean, if you're not there, then you're arm tackling and you're running right through that.
And that's what I tell the kids all the time. They'll see the running backs will see a hack cross on someone blocking out in the receiver area, and they're wanting to cut back or get their feet even. I said, there's still a high school kid that has to tackle you.
Right.
And so if you're trusting your speed and you're hitting that edge or you're hitting that hole as hard as you can and you're running through it, yeah, they may fit you up, but you're going to get 2 or 3 more, or you're going to run through an arm tackle and they're going to bounce off you because you're running with so much momentum.
Right.
So trust your speed. You'll hear that's another thing. When the freshman running back was running in practice one day and he kind of shuffled his feet, and you hear Matt Lund, trust your speed, because I was been saying it.
And you're sitting over there going, oh, that's a proud papa moment.
I was like, about time you listened.
Right.
100%, dog.
Yeah, I mean, I'm incredibly impressed with Matt Lund and his leadership ability. The growth I've seen him from freshman, that and taking over that B-back room and being that leader and being that guy that those can look at. And Ritson's following right in footsteps. So when Matt graduates, hopefully Ritson can take that spot, and he should.
Well, and I mean,
it's awesome to see those two together. And there's a lot of jealousy that could happen.
Yes, that's
good mentorship.
That's one thing that I want to compliment you on, because in a situation when you've got two that are as good as those two, sometimes there could be some friction there, and this, that, and the other. But Ritson has, when Matt scores a touchdown, Ritson's the first one out there. When Ritson scores a touchdown, Matt's the first one out there. They seem like they're in tandem and could care less who gets whatever on offense. But I mean, that's a great job on you for coaching the kids up that way and kind of leading them to that path. But I mean, it's also Matt. I mean, Matt has accepted, and I think, Matt may not admit it, but I mean, I think halfway through last year, Matt became a way different and better running back because all of a sudden he was like, I'm learning something from this freshman.
I agree with that to an extent. I think a lot of when he came back, he realized what Ritson could do. And now the whole load wasn't on him. And I think it took a little bit of that stress. Like, hey, man, we can share this load. Let's go win together.
Yeah.
Type thing. It was,
And that's kind of where I was going with that. And
he was taking, 25 to 30 carries a game. Now he's having to take 15 to, they're 10 and 10, 10 and 15. Now we can share this load together, and now we're even better.
Yeah.
Because now I'm not tired as much.
Yeah.
And now you're going in there, and it's, Ritson's not slow, don't get me wrong, but Matt's a different gear than Ritson.
Yeah.
100%.
And Ritson's a different, different style.
animal. Yeah.
You better bring what you got to tackle Ritson.
Yeah.
And so he's going to go in there and pound, then Matt's going to come out the end, and it's vice versa, and things like that. And so it's just, they realize like, hey, I need you and you need me. Because if you look at any program from pro to college, it's not one single running back.
No.
There's no way to take that many carries.
And people get upset with the NFL. I mean, we can get into a whole diatribe about that with the NFL, not valuing the running back. But part of the reason they don't is because you can plug and play a running back to a certain degree if they have ability. Now, how many teams have
changed over the years?
But not many have the ability as those two, as Ritson and Matt have. I mean, I would say there's some great running backs in 5A, but we have the best tandem.
Yes,
I mean, I understand there was Xavier Robertson kid from Carlisle or whatever, and all that kind of stuff. He's a beast, but I don't know if Carl Albert has a Ritson has a 2.
Yeah, but when he's getting in contact with our linebackers, it's going to change the story. And we got 2 of them though. We talk. Ardmore's coming up. We're going to talk about that game, right? I feel like for Ritson, right, his coming out party as a running back was Ardmore game, right?
Yeah, Matt was out. Yeah.
So we got to see Ritson come out. He got we got to see him do his thing. How does that change? your coaching stance. What did you learn from that game?
Man, I really just walked up to him and said, hey, man, you're going to take every snap on defense still, but you're going to have to carry the majority of the load. And we still had other people play running back that game. You know, Peyton Christian came in and had a touchdown. Bernie Morrison came in and had a touchdown running. But I said, you're going to have to take the majority of it because these guys, you know, they're playing defense too. Yeah. And so he just, you know, being Ritson, he stepped up to the challenge. You know, you challenge Ritson, he's going to do it. And, like, he did a phenomenal job on it. And I knew he could do it. I was just worried about his conditioning because he hadn't even tried to do it. Yeah. And he did a great job. I mean, he was in better shape than I thought he was. Yeah. He ran the ball hard. He fit in his gaps hard defensively. And I knew he was good. I knew he had the ability to be great. But that's one of the first times I was like, man, he can be special if he really puts the work in. So, and with his family, he comes from a great family, and his dad contacts me all the time, and I appreciate parents like his.
Yeah, because I mean, all they're doing is Mike does a great job of trying to get Ritson better. Yeah, I mean, and it doesn't matter what sport it is. I mean, like I said, Ritson, baseball, wrestling, football, whatever. I mean, Mike's always trying to push him. Same thing with Jensen and Kaysen, I mean, just a good job there across the board. I mean, that's a pretty fun thing to watch. But piggybacking a little bit off of that, I mean, wasn't it? So you coach a singular position on offense, but with two different type of styles. I mean, not necessarily how hard is it, but how, like, you got to coach them differently because they're different kids. I mean, does that add this?
I don't.
How does that kind of?
I coach every kid different, basically.
Okay. So is it all about? Is it all about like their mentality and the way that? Okay.
But also, they know I'm going to be the same person every time. Okay. The standards are the same. No matter who's running the ball, the standards are the same. We still run and find the tackle and counter. We look at the play, the backside linebacker and dive. The technique's the same. What you can do physically, it's up to you. And I want to see what you can do. And whatever you can do, you can do. And, trust your speed, trust your abilities is what I tell them. Then they know what I mean by that. Like, I've had the personal conversation, with each one of them. When I say, hey, trust yourself, they have no, man, I can make a jump skip there, or I have to turn up and get my pads level there. They know each one. And that's just, spending time like all of us, our coaches do. Our coaching staff is amazing. I don't know if y'all know that or not.
Oh, we talk about it a ton.
And then not just me, I'm taking me out of the thing. Like, I love this coaching staff. I've been on some great coaching staffs. Yeah. I mean, I've been Kelly Beebe, one of the best defensive minds in the state. I've been in the Kingfisher program with Jeff Myers being a great head coach. And I don't, people talk about how good our coaches are here, and I hear it all the time, but I don't think people actually step back and realize how great Charmer Wyatt is. He is a exceptional head coach, and I'm not just talking about X's and O's. I'm talking about being able to manage a program
and manage a community to a certain degree.
And when I say manage the program, it's it's the kids there, the culture around it,
it's the parents,
and the coaching
and
staff,
the administration.
Yes.
I wholeheartedly agree. I've been involved in football my entire life, and when one of the first times I got to hang out with you guys, 2 or 3 weeks into the season last year, became, I was in this, that, and the other, and came up and hang out with you guys and was like, this is it. Yeah. Like, this is the whole, this is y'all are playing 5A, and this is the 6 of y'all or 7, whatever that number is. I was like, you guys are doing phenomenal with the resources and things. And now we've been able to add TJ but like you said, some of the things that he does to make all of y'all feel comfortable and safe and things like that. But he also relies on you guys enough to make it where
it's a staff.
You guys are important, like 100%. Like, I've been around head coaches where I can replace you. Yeah,
I'll work with us. Yeah,
okay, you're replaceable. I hear what you're saying, but next, move on.
And he is like I said, I have those coaches, and like Kelly Beebe is a Hall of Fame coach. Jeff Myers is a Hall of Fame coach. And like, I'd see them out and they're like, hey, how's it working for the young guy? Because they know I'm older than him. And, I was a young guy on their staff. Yeah. And I was like, y'all don't understand. He is going to be great. How people talk about y'all is how they're going to talk about Chalmer Wyatt. I don't think people realize how great he is going to be. And he is.
And he's 30.
Yeah.
He's 30 years old.
Think about when he's 35.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
It's just amazing.
Yeah.
And then you go from him to Coach Castro.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's the offensive coordinator behind that type of head coach.
Yeah.
And
Baker.
he is the best O-line coach in the state. And if you want to argue that, I'll argue with you all day because I've been around some great ones. I'll argue it all day long, what he can do as far as technique, watching the kids step, kick step, and do, and breaking it down to individual like toe placement, hand placement, and then the relationship you have on top of that with the kids.
Oh, yeah.
Phenomenal. And then you go to Baker.
And families.
Yeah.
Castro, those O-line families just
He is
adore him.
the best O-line coach in the state of Oklahoma, and he won't admit it, but I will. I'll fight for that. Like I've been around some great ones.
Well, that's the reason why he was named. What he was named last year.
I've been around some, Scott Mick at Guthrie, and all the different ones have Stuart Puritan, Mike and all these guys that are have to go talk at places. He's better, and I'll look at those guys in the face and tell them that, and I have no problem with that. And then you go to Jack Baker on defense. Like our top of our staff is phenomenal. Like you ain't gonna outwork Jack. He's gonna watch film and he's gonna notice little things like, hey, the wing's head's here, and so they're going here. He's gonna find little things. The quarterback's foot's this placement versus this placement. He's gonna find those things, and then he's gonna be able to spin and call things off of that. I've already talked about, Kelly Beebe, want to be one of the best minds in the state. You better have Jack Baker in that conversation. Well, and he's not going to admit it because he's humble, and I give him a hard time about the Jack Baker D all the time. And it's just a thing because I'm a little brother. I'm a little brother with my wife calls, so I like to pick and razz at everybody. I'm that guy, so I do it to get on him. But he's never going to admit how good he is, but he's good. And he won't admit it because, he'll be, I never made a tackle out there. Those kids have made a tackle. Yes, but he's put him in position.
And the one thing that's funny too is like everybody always talks about the offense because the offense is shiny and scores points and this, that, and the other. But I mean, I think if you ask Chalmer too, everything starts with the defense.
Yep, mentality.
I mean, everything starts. And I mean, Castro. First thing he says, we're a better offense because Jack Baker's our defense coordinator and our defense is so dang good. And I mean, the outsiders look at scores and say, oh, their offense is rolling, they're this, they're that, yada, 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 yada. But I mean,
we're giving up 8.3 points a game.
If we're going to get to the point where we want to get to, where we say we're going to get to, week 12, week 13, week 14, it's all on defense. Not all, but that's where it's going to start.
You got to be able to run the ball and play good defense. You got to run the ball and stop the run.
Yeah, and everybody, they're scoring just 70, yada, yada, all those points and stuff like that. But I mean, if we're going to get to that point, it's going to be Adam Castro and Jack Baker and the running game and the defense that's going to get us
Those two guys they're so fun to coach with, and Chalmers fun to coach with. Everybody on staff, don't get me wrong.
They're so fun. They're so fun to watch.
Interact. Yes. The best way we can put that. They're fun. And that being said, and then, our swing guy that goes, from position to position is Cody Rowell, a state champion wrestling coach. Who brings the mentality that we have to be hard nosed. A lot of staffs don't have that guy.
No, they don't.
That type of caliber person. He is a great person. He is a great person for those kids. He can sit up here and say he's a wrestling coach, but he knows football.
Oh, and he said it. He said he did. Last week we had him, and he said he did. And last week, after the first and second grade game, we lost. And he called up not only the kids, but the parents. It was like, here's how we're going to win in high school.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? That's first and second grade game. But
right.
And we talked a little bit about it with him. Being the wrestling head guy, he understands what it means to be the head guy.
Yeah.
So he is taking that, that discipline and that whatever as being the head guy. Yes, he is the head first and second grade coach. But he called the parents up too and was like, there's some things that got to change if y'all think that that this is going to be easy as you move forward in football and things
he
like
is phenomenal for the culture of Elgin sports. Not just wrestling, not just football, for sports. He is phenomenal with that.
I texted Chalmer last week. I texted Chalmer after, and it was like, because Cody's one of the only ones on the staff that I really haven't gotten a chance to interact with a ton. And I texted, I was like, "That's the godfather of your own staff."
Yeah.
And he was like,
and if you
perfect, yeah. And I mean that he really is. When Chalmers sat in here and said he's the glue to our staff, I was sitting there going,
yes,
I don't I see him, I talk to, we're friendly, but and then when he came in here and had the intensity that he had to explain things and then the emotion that he had to hear Chalmers say that he was the glue, yada, 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 I was like, could have roused the godfather of Elgin sports. And he was like,
man, after the Reno game, I had a football player come up to me and say, "I ain't worried about nothing. We got Coach Hill and Coach Rao." That's what he told me.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh man, I start stretching too." You know what we need to do, Doc?
Yeah.
So that's what it was, though.
Coach Rao, man, I love that man to death. His wife watched my son for a while, and my youngest one, when she watches kids a little bit, and so my kids and the Rao kids love each other, and it's fun to watch those young two, Witten and my son. I went over there one day to pick him up, and his wife was like, "He's just so sweet and so nice." I was like, "My son?"
Right.
No, and I look over, and Witten has Easton in a headlock, and Waylon is going off the top rope with the bounce house, and frog splash at both of them. And they're all three laughing. I'm like, okay, that's why.
But that's what they mean by sweet.
Yeah, and so they're fun, and it's awesome staff, and I enjoy it a lot. And we still have those two young guys on staff too that I haven't mentioned, Oren and Brandon, and they're going to be great coaches one day, and I love those two. They're fun.
I don't think they get what they're learning right now.
They do.
No, I think they do.
Good. Because like I said, I'm outside looking in, so it's awesome. Sometimes
they're not as loud personalities.
Okay? They're not.
We have some personalities on our staff.
There's a lot of alphas. There's not many.
Yeah.
There's a lot of alphas.
I feel like I'm the newest guy, so they come out of the way. I feel like sometimes I talked about Coach Hill, kind of being the big brother to me, bringing me in, but they come out of nowhere to help me out and just say stuff to me like, "Hey, this is what they need to do," and stuff like that. I'm like, "Thank you," because I was clearly not talking that way.
It's so funny to watch y'all's staff interact from the outside looking in to a certain degree, because we hang out here and there and this, that, and the other, and there's so many alphas. And then Coach Wyatt is the least alpha of anybody.
Ooh.
Least alpha in anybody in a public setting. But then then you're like, okay. So from the outside looking in, you go, there's a lot of alphas, and Chalmers kind of the cool, calm, and collected. And then all of a sudden you kind of get in the middle, and you're like, oh, okay, now I get it.
Yeah, don't let his size fool you, boy. I understand that, we kind of give him a hard time about his size sometimes, but
No.
him and Coach Rao, ooh,
yeah,
don't cross either one of them.
Yeah.
So, but it's funny. It's a great staff. It's a great mentality, and alpha, whatever it is, it's just some loud personalities and people talk.
Alpha's not the type A. Type A personalities, but Chalmers can kind of calm it down to he can watch, and then he'll go.
I think that comes to also a lot to the people that you choose to be around you. You know what I mean? Because you can have anybody around you, right? You can be the greatest leader ever. But if you have somebody around you that just doesn't want to follow, they're not going to be great. You know what I mean? To be a great leader, you have to learn how to follow somebody.
But to be a great leader, and here's where I will go with Chalmers. To be a great leader, he allows all
Us
of
to be
them.
us.
He allows every single one of them to be them and to be the A.
Exactly.
But when he needs to say, "Mother, I'm the A," then they all also listen.
And that's a respect thing for how he treats us.
Yeah, because he
treats
lets
us
you
great.
be you. He lets you do your thing. He lets
me pick up Baker all the time. And they
roll at it.
Yeah. And I can go over there and the other day, Cody can just grab a hold of anybody at team time and it's all of a sudden it's a wrestling match in there. And it has to be that way. And he likes it too that way. But when it's hey, enough, it's like, all right, time to be quiet, time to sit in my chair and do my work. And that's just part of him being the person he is.
Yeah.
And it's the respect we have for him because he will allow us to be who we are and coach with our personalities, but it's still inside his framework.
Oh, yeah.
And so he's a great leader, and I love working for him. I know he's a little bit younger than me, but he's still my head coach, and I love working for him.
That's awesome.
I mean, he's a great, like I said, you talk about all these great coaches in the Hall of Fame, you can throw out the Roses and all those people, and here in a few years, they're going to talk about Wyatt that way. And
that's awesome.
I promise you that. And I don't think, Elgin don't need to lose him. You can't lose him.
No, you can't.
He's phenomenal.
And this is all for him. So do what you got to do to keep him.
Yeah.
So speaking of,
We do Defensive Player of the Week?
no, we're about to get into that. Speaking of defensive player of the week, we talked about Coach Baker, talked about wrestling with Coach Rao. Defensive player of the week, Colin Donnelly.
Yo, let's go.
Man,
to me, he's the leader
And a leader.
of the entire team.
yes. You talk about alpha personality.
Yeah.
He is the alpha of the team. And, he's been that way since he was a sophomore. He's just a junior.
Yeah.
Great kid. Man, I love Colin Donnelly. I get to coach him all the time.
Yeah.
A linebacker since he was a freshman.
Tell me about it because he's shut off to me. He doesn't talk to me much, and I don't talk to the kids that much. Ritson lives a couple doors down.
I didn't know that.
I run in to Ritson every now and then, and Ritson's little brothers and my daughter's class. So I know Ritson to a certain degree. Colin, I don't know, but Colin seems like just.
He's like any other kid, man. He is a goofy kid.
Right.
He has fun. He wants to be fun in practice.
But if y'all are going to go anywhere, he's the alpha.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I agree.
Yes.
That's what I see, and that's what I hope for.
He had 19 tackles last game.
And
Let's go, dog. Let's go.
And there was times like he couldn't walk because the defense was on the field.
Mm-hmm.
Way
Can
too
you talk
much.
about that a little bit? Because there was a lot of late whistles that was blown, and I feel like two of them, Colin Donnelly got hurt because they should have blown the whistle dead, and they didn't. And I haven't talked to you about that since then, so y'all may have talked about it.
Refereeing is a tough gig in high school football.
And I know some referees because we've been doing this so long. So they're like, "Hey, Hill," and I know them outside of it because there's some people that live in this area, and our kids are on the same t-ball team, and
we wrestle on Saturday.
Yeah, and so it's different things like that. But I'm not going to talk about how bad or how good the refereeing was.
They do the best that they can.
I don't know about all that, but I'm not. No one ever look at me in a referee. And I have one that I know really well, and he knows me really well. And so when he's officiating the game, I yell at him and him only because I know he won't penalty. He's like, "Lance, stop yelling at me." I'm like, "No, I'm gonna yell at you at church this week too because I go." So don't bring Jesus into it. But
Don't you dare!
But we'll cut that back. Just the Jesus part.
But yeah, there's some, and it came from when he was like that. It was because he thought the play was dead and it was still going. He was not prepared to in battle. I mean, there's the whistle for a reason. And then you relax,
Right.
and then he's getting hit again and things like that.
Because when you're on the field as much as they are, you got to take that 15 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever it is, to breathe and relax and whatever.
You know, and man, Colin Donnelly is, man, I can't tell you how much I love that kid and how much he pisses me off all at the same time. And it might be because we're so close. Like,
yeah, probably.
And, you know, I go watch them wrestle. I go watch all of them wrestle. I'm a big supporter of these kids, you know, and that's just part of me being a strength coach, I think.
But it's your whole staff, and that's
right. That's true. If you go to a basketball game, look at who's running the clock, and that's running everything. It's the staff, and like sitting down there. Even with football, with wrestling, you know, I take a personal day and go to the state wrestling meet. Like I take a day off and I go up there and sit all day. Now those chairs are uncomfortable. But there's been times me and Castro sit there, but the kids enjoy that.
But the kids are also buying into it because they're also coming to the first and second grade games, third and fourth. You know,
it's what you do.
And I mean, I know some of them have siblings and stuff like that, but I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, some of them don't, and they're showing up to first and second grade game because
it's just the culture you have. You know, we're there for each other.
We're building a program.
Yes, and then. But Colin Donnelly, he is the leader of our defense. He's another coach out there to an extent, you know, and he can get us lined up and, you know, whenever we need it. You can see that he studies, and, you know, it's nothing for him to call or text one of us on a Saturday, Sunday, like, hey, what are we doing next week? You know, and talking different things.
That's awesome.
And so, you know,
he's biting for it.
Yes,
he's ready.
He knows he's that guy. And knows he has to be, you know, and last year he's a captain. This year he wasn't. And, you know, it's one of those different things that happens inside the growth of a program and the growth of things and it's not a knock against him because he is the defensive captain.
He's a GM.
Whether he has a C on his chest or not.
No.
And so, but he is that guy. I promise you he's that guy. When we need a play to happen, we look at that guy.
And he's got a hold of the year.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, yes.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's the cool thing about a lot of these kids have another year.
Yeah.
You know, we rolled into this year understanding.
Matt Lund had another year.
Yeah. We rolled into this year understanding that, you know, we return to everybody. Mm-hmm. Next year, we still return a ton of people. I mean, a lot of these kids, I mean, we lose some good ones. We lose some very, very good ones, don't get me wrong. But we've now started to build a program to where
those freshmen
is the next man up. Yes.
And they're getting playing time. And
they're getting playing time on Friday nights in varsity games.
Yeah, we're running down on kickoff. Plus they're playing freshman game. They're getting 2 games a week.
Yeah.
And before our teams weren't getting that because we had to save them for Fridays.
Yeah.
And now that are, and that's allowing even growth in our junior and sophomore class.
Oh, absolutely.
Now they're getting the full reps, everything's now running down. It's awesome to watch the growth in the last 4 years. I've been here 4 years. I don't know if we talked about that earlier, but I went from the defeated season to this, and it's been a lot of fun watching.
Yeah, because
having leaders on the field though, that's a big deal. Even with the youth kids, you know, like I've talked to about Cody. I believe I've talked about you. I'm sure I've talked about you as well. The kids they listen to the older kids more than they do us. So I can tell them one thing 100 times. It takes one older kid.
Oh,
yeah.
It takes a Colin Donnelly to tell them that one time and it's game over. For example, I was at the Cash game, right? Mm-hmm. You know, I was trying to do anything I could to figure out. So I'm talking. Colin's down there talking. I was like, Colin, hey, bro, hey, let's talk about this. You know, and you know, he gave me a couple things here and there, but you know, it is what it was. You know what I mean? I know he's used to being in that position. His little brother plays in my position, so
plays his position. So that can get a little frustrating for someone. And they're. Don't give me Brody D. I love Brody D. I wouldn't say completely opposite because we were giving Colin a hard time today in the office because he came in during lunch just to hang out. And we were giving him a hard time like, hey, that was you when you were an 8th grader. He's like, no, it wasn't. I did not act like that. I'm like, yeah, boss, you did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not to that extent of Brody D, but the maturity and Colin from his 8th grade, his freshman, his sophomore, it's been fun to watch grow.
Well, but you gotta understand. So, and you probably do as well as anybody because obviously you've been on staff. But I mean, we asked so much of those kids when they were freshmen and when they were sophomore. Like, we expected, they were playing in one of the hardest districts in 4A, and they were freshmen, and they were playing against Ethan Downs.
Yeah, I remember that game. Let's not talk about it.
But you understand, what I'm saying? Yeah. They were freshmen, and Ethan Downs is now and freshman All-American. Did his thing.
Yes.
He has went for Weatherford and done his thing and whatever else. And so we're looking at our freshman kids saying, hey, that kid's a junior and you need to, or a sophomore or a senior I don't remember, but
senior, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Go compete.
Yeah, it's
and
we asked a lot from those kids, and it was it's a hard time for COVID stuff going on, but then
you took your lumps and you learned from them.
Yeah,
and not only did y'all as a coaching staff learn from them,
yes,
but the kids learned from them. Yeah. So the kids now, not saying. It sucks to lose every game.
Yes.
But, they also know what it feels like to lose every game.
Yeah.
So now they're at the point where they're like, we're not doing that shit again. We don't want to lose a single game.
Yeah, and, it's always made people mad when they're homecoming. But used to, we were everybody's homecoming for a reason. Right. Now people are scheduling us at homecoming like, hey, whoa, what are you thinking? We don't do that.
Check that off. That's one of my top.
All right, so you don't.
What is up with that? Why would they do that? I don't get any of that.
All right, so
it's
probably
it's that time of year where you get it in quick,
but probably it was also set up at least a year or two in advance.
But that still don't make any sense to me. That don't make any sense. It just. Why would you want to try to get your ass kicked on homecoming now? It don't make any sense. Even if you look back 2 years ago, you couldn't.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I have no answer for that.
Is that a morale thing to try to boost everybody's ego? Like, we're going to go out and go play harder tonight?
I have no idea about it. Like, it could be a couple years in advance, depending on the administration. But it's okay because our kids don't like it because they were the homecoming a lot of their careers.
Yeah.
No, even before this year.
Right. Oh, yeah. No, yes. 100%.
And so when they see that we're homecoming, that makes them feel that again. And it's not always a good thing.
No, because they understand they went through it.
Yeah.
In 5A1, we may be the favorite right now.
Coach Rao talked about it last week. He said that when his dad took him to the state wrestling tournament as a freshman.
Yeah, watch.
And it made him watch it because he didn't make it. Just burned into his soul. Right?
Watch it.
So that's our kids now. You know what I mean? But also on the flip side of that is culture, though. So now the younger kids know it's not acceptable to lose.
The vision that Coach Wyatt has is coming to life.
But the vision that Coach Wyatt has also includes first, second, all the way through.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
He's building the program he wants, and he wants his town to have. And it might have been the program he was in with Coach Laura. I don't know. I can't speak on that because I wasn't there.
Right.
And it might be what Coach Laura was trying to do when he was here. I don't know, but I know what Coach Wyatt's trying to do, and I'm 100% in on it. And you're seeing it to life, and everybody's talking about it. Everybody's excited, and that's just part of what he's doing.
Right, and that explains, like, hey, first and second grade is important. Third grade is important. Fourth grade, all the way building up to this. Like, we're trying to figure out who these kids are. Who do we have? What's going on? And employing the discipline. Because first and second and third and fourth, whatever, you're not disciplining the kids. You're disciplining the parents.
Yeah.
This is what we expect from you guys. And I'm nothing against, I've got a first grade daughter. I'm not saying anything, but I think that was part of Cody Rao's intention of bringing the parents up too. Like, if you want to be a high school player, it takes you too.
Yeah. And the part of that is, a lot of people grow up coaching their kids. And that's a good thing. You want to be involved with your kid. I love that. But then when you hand them to us, let us coach them. Yeah. And I'm not saying that at a dig at anybody, but you get to be a dad or a mom now. You don't have to be the coach anymore. You get to be a fan of your kid. And that's a big thing they need to, like.
You need to accept that.
Yeah.
It's a cool thing.
Yes.
That's Ryan.
Yeah. Be a fan of your kid. you don't have, my dad ripped me every time I did something wrong. I get it, but he also, I know that's not what your coach is telling you to do. Why are you doing that? It was that type of talk. It's not, the quickest thing that can tear down a program is a kitchen table.
Yes.
The talk at the kitchen table.
Thank you.
I promise you that we're not doing anything that won't allow your kid to be great. We want success for your kid. You can see it in every one of us.
Right.
But there's someone on staff that you can build a relationship with. I promise you, and that's going to try to make him a better man and a better person and a better player. Be a fan of your kid because we're gonna coach him hard, but we're also gonna love him hard. I tell all my boys. I call them my boys because they are.
You're going to coach them like they're your boys. That's what I'm saying.
Chase Spencer, before every kickoff, you'll see me. I'll walk up and I'll give him a hug and I say, do what you do. Be the person you're person. I love you. Let's go. And I'm not even his position coach, and I'm not the only coach that does that. A lot of coaches do that. And on our staff, they tell the kids they love them and all that stuff. And it's just how it is. We love your kids hard. We're going to coach them hard. So you get to be a parent and enjoy what your kid is becoming because we can't do what we do without y'all as parents. It's just how it is. Kind of dampen the mood there. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good, dog.
No.
We love it, man.
Before
we go in to the Ardmore, I kind of want to recap that Reno game. As far as the shenanigans, we already talked about the good part with the players of the week. Me personally, I thought it was, a little upsetting. So
yeah, I can't talk about it a lot because I'll get frustrated with it. And it's a lot of hindsight stuff because, we didn't know everything that's going on Squirtle and out there on the field. I just know that tempers were hot on both sides, and it got out of control there on the field with some administration and coaches. And it's frustrating to see what, lack of better word, stupidity will happen in a high school setting.
Yeah.
Because people got mad for dumb reasons.
Multiple reasons.
Yeah.
Multiple.
Yeah.
It wasn't one thing or another. It just led to...
And with things that are going on in today's climate, going back to the Choctaw and Del City thing, things can get scary real quick.
Yeah.
And there's no reason for that at a football game. That is something that is pure, something that is enjoyable for everybody. And when you start getting your personal feelings involved, that's when the game gets tarnished, and it's not okay. It's not okay to act that way in a professional setting, in a football setting. It's very upsetting. And I get tempers were high. I got a temper like no other. I promise you. And I will go sideways real quick, but you can't do that. That is taking away from what these kids are doing, what us coaches are doing, and it's not okay. And it's very upsetting. And it's hard to talk about without getting very, very upset. Better word, pissed off about.
Understand. Well, let's move on to the future then.
We could have said it better.
Yeah.
We got Ardmore coming up.
Josh Newby's a great coach, by the way. Just throw it out there after the El Reno thing. He's a good coach. There's not great coaches out there on every staff, but Josh Newby's a good one. So we won't have those shenanigans, I promise you. And it's a homecoming again.
Okay.
They picked us.
Didn't know that. So we're 3 in a row.
Yeah, 4 because we'll have ours after that. So.
Yeah. Well, okay. Ours is 5.
Yeah. So
is that a record?
I don't know. I've never been.
I don't know. But
I don't know if I've ever been.
Watching the first and second grade truck will be sponsored by Vincent Sailor State Farm.
But
I love it,
man. It's another business trip.
Yeah,
it's like any other. It's no different than any other game. It's just a little bit longer drive, so we're just to leave a little bit earlier.
Okay.
We'll get the kids, out of for 7th hour and head out during 7th hour. Get down there, do our normal thing. Get our little snack to get on the bus that our quarterback club gives us, which we're very thankful for. They take care of us. And we get on the bus, and it's just a 2-hour drive down there, and it'll be a fun time, man. Where there's a high expectation. They're traditionally a good program.
Right.
They're, I don't know if I'd say down the last couple of years, but they're not to the standard that they've been the last few years. So it's a very winnable game for us. Like, it's a game that we should win. I believe. I'll say it out loud,
That's fine.
But that also, I've never walked into a game thinking I was going to lose. Even every game in 2020, we walked into Weatherford with Downs over there. I was like, man, we're going to win this game.
Doesn't care.
We're going to win this one.
Right.
And that's just my personality. And I think any coach should think that,
Yeah.
They're a good program, coached well. They have a good coaching staff. we'll have to go to work. We can't take anybody lightly. When you start taking anybody lightly, you'll get beat. And that's the hard thing right now with the success we're having. We got to keep pushing, and we got to make sure these kids are pushing and understand, like, it don't matter who's across from us. It's a standard that we have to play to. Well, I mean, I don't want to say anything bad about Ardmore. Ardmore's a good football team.
Right.
They have athletes down there. So it's not just like, hey, we have to show up and win. We have to go to work. We have to show up every day, put our work in. Our work week starts on Monday. We go in, we get our install in the morning before school starts. We go out to practice, make sure everybody understands the install, walk through it. Then we go out, and it's time to get to work, and it's, it's just, I didn't make that play. No, make that play. It's not, I'll get it next time. There's no next time. It's this play every time. And we coach every play as hard as we can. And those kids have to learn to play every play as hard as they can. There's a standard. And, used to, as coaches, we would have to coach that sometimes. But now you can see the leaders of the team. Someone doesn't fit the right spot. Hey, get that to the next one. Let's go. Let's pick it up. Let's go. And so they're policing themselves. And so it's sometimes these are coached and sometimes it's not.
So talk a little bit about kind of that scout team and some of those guys that do the work.
Yeah, you're only as good as your scout team.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have the best team in the world, but if they can't get a look, they're not going to be prepared each week. And we have a lot of kids, especially, a lot of younger kids that are out there trying to work and trying to get that. And that practice play of the week has become a thing, and they want to be that. Yeah. Because if you're a freshman that's not getting a jersey, you get a jersey then.
Right.
Oh. Because we don't see that every freshman. So
okay.
It's a little bit extra on that.
Hey.
Working and doing things. But our sophomores and up that, they get jerseys. But it's us coaches have noticed you working, and those kids have taken pride in it. Some people like Jake Dill, I mean, he is a freshman linebacker that is just, he's a car crash waiting to happen. He runs his body anywhere and everywhere because he don't care. He wants to play, and he plays the right way, and he plays with passion. He does that at practice, an inside run when Keith is completely throttling him. Okay, and what's awesome is those starters have noticed those guys that are doing it, and they appreciate them. And they're trying to, whoever the scout team center is trying to block Jace Williams. Then they go into a JV game on Monday. Boy, they wear people out.
Yeah, they're like,
hey, that's not as hard as it's been all week.
Right.
And
we see scores from the JV games and those games, and we're like, oh, okay. Yeah. But yeah, I mean that leads
definitely
on
one
to
thing I want to start talking about every week is the practice player of the week.
Was Jake Dill a practice player of the week last week? I think he was. Actually, I know he was.
I'm not sure, honestly.
Yeah, he was. He was last week, and that's the kid we talked about earlier. He's going to be a very good linebacker for us if he keeps progressing like he's supposed to and doing what he's supposed to, which he tries. He tries every day to do the right thing, and he's going to be, you talk about Ritson, you talk about Colin, you talk about Littlemeyer, you talk about all these other people, but Jake Dill's a kid when you keep your eye out for the next few years. He's going to, we call him a car crash because he don't care about his body. He will run.
Talk a little about Littlemeyer, because he came in for a little while in the game. I mean, talk about him. You're the linebacker coach. Talk about a little bit about him. I know we've seen him some on the offensive side of the ball, but we haven't seen him much on defense yet. I mean, he came in a big spot. I mean, it was still the first half.
Yeah. He's a kid I can trust. He knows what we're doing every week, like Colin does. He's not to the extent of Colin yet, but he's also a freshman.
He's a freshman, yeah.
But he's a kid that, he'll come up and ask questions like when they're out there and we call something, hey, if they come out in this formation, do I slide it? Do I, he wants to know. He's another student of the game.
Yeah.
And he reads his keys well. He does everything right. He's just 157 pounds right now. Where both of our linebackers are 210, and people don't realize how big those kids are. They're 210 pounds. They're big linebackers.
They're huge linebackers for high school. Yeah. I mean, I don't think some people understand how we don't have the 320-pound left tackle. But I don't think people out there understand how big our team is outside of that 330-pound lineman.
Yeah.
I mean, we have kids, like you said, our 2 middle linebackers are 210. I mean, that's college size linebackers.
Both of them run a 4.8, by the way.
And that's faster than most college size inside linebackers.
Yeah, and they can move, and they're very well. And so, someone like Kaysen, who's a little brother to one of those kids, he's, you get out there and you're like, man, he looks little, but
He can move.
he can move. He can run, and he loves the position,
he can run.
and he ain't scared of it. And so, same thing with the other kid that comes in is Kobe Morton, and he's a kid that I want to talk about a little bit. He's a kid that we had some injuries on the O line,
And he has.
and
Changed numbers.
we changed his number. But hey, man, he was on the tight end. He was a tight end on offense. Like, hey, man, you need to go into a lineman number. And he was like, we got to win. Okay, we got to win. Okay, let's do this. And he don't care. He's wearing 68 or whatever. And that's just what part of the team culture now. It's like, hey, we got to do this to win. Okay, let's do this.
So let's talk about that kid.
And he is not afraid of contact, boy. He will come strike you. He broke his collarbone last year in a JV game by hitting somebody coming downhill. Like, he's not afraid of contact. He might be. I mean, it's hard to be as physical as Colin. Colin's physical, but he ain't afraid of it. That's the one thing an inside linebacker we tell all the time. I can deal with you making a misstep. I can deal with a bad read. I can deal with a lot of bad things going. But you better come get a bite. And those 4 guys plus Dill, man, I ain't got very many linebackers that won't take a bite. I'm from 9 through 12. Little Sam Jotner, who just moved in, he just came to middle linebacker. He's been there for since September or whatever started, and he will get a bite because that's what we do. We got to go downhill and get a bite. That's what we do. That's what it's like. Got to be. That's what has to happen. There ain't no options in it. Because I don't know if you know me or not. I will come unglued if you won't.
Yes, I do.
Well, with that, let's go ahead and go into final words.
Man, things are special right now in Elgin, and it's not just with the football. It's not just with wrestling. It's not just with our sports. It's a community figuring out how to be a community, kind of. In other words, I don't know how to say that any better, but enjoy it, and it's fun, and it's almost a family atmosphere. And my family came over and watched the game, and like, y'all have the right things. And it's a Friday night crew, from our band to our dancers to our football team to the student section to the parents. There's a culture that's being put out there, and I take it back to the culture of what Coach Wyatt, Coach Castro, Coach Baker, Coach Rao have envisioned, and Coach Hughes getting into this, and Coach Laura and our admin doing it. They're doing the right things, and be a part of it if you can.
Yeah.
Be a part of it in any way, from the first grade, like we said, to high school. Be a part of it, and it's so much fun, and it needs to carry on to every single aspect of this town, every program in this town. And it's not just football. We talk about football a lot, but it has to grow. And that's what's fun to watch, that it is growing. It's getting contagious, and we have to keep it going and do whatever it is to make it grow. And I love being here. I live 22 minutes away, and I enjoy driving here every day to be a part of this. And it's so much fun, and I'm excited to see the future until I get fired. So
That's the coach in them, because at the end of the day, they may always get fired.
Always heard,
it's a terrible deal.
There's it's either a coach that's getting fired or going to get fired.
Right.
It's one of those two things. So.
Right. Yeah. But no, I mean, it's an incredible atmosphere right now in Elgin. Just with everything that's going on. I mean, it's incredible the way that things are progressing. With football, obviously, football is a catalyst, and whatever else, everything else is great from there. But football is a catalyst. And we're loving what we're doing right now. We're 4-0. So, I mean, it's an incredible deal. And we're set up to win a lot more ball games. We'll continue to grow. And then it's a lot higher in the future.
I'm just glad to be a part of it. I said earlier about Coach Hill kind of taking me under wing, big brother me a little bit, and I really do appreciate that. You know, I'm just glad to be a part of it, man. Thank y'all for teaching me shit, Doug. I appreciate it, man. At the end of the day, you know, I come into this with an empty cup, if you will. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna remain that till I learn something valuable that I can help out with. You know what I mean? So thank y'all, man. I appreciate it.
And that's what all good coaches have, is that they have an empty cup. And that's one of the things I can say about our staff is when season's over, we're looking at different podcasts. We're looking at different things to go to. Everybody's an empty cup, and that's what's making you so much fun to coach with, is because you want to learn.
Oh, yeah.
When a coach stops learning, he needs to get out.
Yeah.
And so it's so much fun, because when clinic season, which is hard sometimes because clinic season is right in the middle of wrestling season, especially for the coaches that do wrestling.
But when you get a young coach that makes y'all's job easier, because it makes you feel like, okay, I'm going to teach him. I don't
know. Sometimes I'm worried I'm going to mess him up too much. Like, teaching the wrong things, because I'm not the great coach.
But you also want to, like, okay. So I got a sponge right now. Yeah. So I'm going to take this sponge and try and learn and teach him and do all those things.
It's not so much look at him and teach him. It's like, hey man, I've made that mistake. Don't make this one. You know, I've made that mistake. And that's what you're trying to do as a coach. Like, hey, this is what I know because I've made this mistake that you're about to make.
But you love anybody that's willing to jump into it with you guys.
Don't have broke hands. Go to work. You know, and that's what Coach Bean does. I love Coach Bean, and he that's what he does. He's looking for work every time. And man, that's what you're supposed to be as a coach. Is look, I don't care how much you know about X and O's. As long as you're willing to work and learn, you're gonna be a great coach.